Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, I'm going to be looking at the transfer window so far, how we've got on, what business we've done, and then I'm going to look at possible signings going out for the end of the window, possible signings coming in through the window, and my personal hopes for the rest of the window. So yeah, let's crack on and get into it. So let's start off with who we've lost over the summer, who's gone out. So Rumour Donovan has gone to Brentford. He was on sort of a trial loan with them the end of last season, so that's no great surprise. He's a very talented young player. I'm sure he's going to have a massive future in the game with Brentford. So fair play to him for going out. We also lost Yokoyama. He was only really a bit part player at the end of last season. It's no great surprise that sort of he's gone. We also lost Keller, another great young prospect. Wasn't quite in Chris Davis's plans. He looked at him a couple of times, but it never really happened. So that was no great surprise. Same with Longello. Again, hasn't really been a Blues player for the last year or so. Really, he's had 2 loan spells out, and yeah, he's gone now. Then we've let Dion Sanderson go on loan. Wasn't first team plans at all. Didn't take his opportunities when he got them under Chris Davis, so no great surprise there. Peacock Farrell, again, wasn't first choice goalkeeper. Didn't look up to the task when we did try him last year, so he's gone on loan, along with Emil Hansen they've both gone on loan to Blackpool. And the thing with Hansen is, when Hansen first came in the start of last season, he looks like a great player, and he had a great game against Solihull Moors in pre-season friendly this year. But unfortunately, he had a really horrible run of injuries last year, and he didn't play much football sort of October onwards. So I think this loan is probably about him getting some minutes, him getting some games, him getting some time and getting match fit, and then we'll probably reassess him afterwards, because there's certainly some potential there. And then last night we saw Christian Bielik secure a move away from the club to West Bromwich Albion. I don't really know how I feel about that. I mean, it was kind of obvious he wasn't in the squad Wednesday night for the cup game, and really he's not going to get in the team over Newman and Clara, and Davis had told him if he wanted to find another club he was welcome to. And I think from his personal point of view, he wants to get back into the Poland international team, especially if there's a World Cup coming up next year. So he needs to be playing week in, week out. So it's a shrewd move for him. I've no doubt he'll be a first choice defender at West Bromwich Albion. Little upset that he's gone to West Bromwich Albion, local rivals and probably promotion rivals, but if we're not going to use a player, we can't really go and then get upset about a team that will offer him football, And I wish him all the best, when we went down, he was the first to sign a new deal. He stuck by us through thick and thin, and he's been a great servant to the club, so I can only wish him all the best. And then the main one that's divided the fans a little bit this summer was Alfie May leaving for Huddersfield. Alfie was brilliant for us last year. We knew exactly what we were buying, someone who could get stacks of goals in League One. And he almost joined Huddersfield. He's gone to Huddersfield. He almost joined Huddersfield last summer, but we hijacked the deal at the last minute. So it's not really a surprise that that's where he's gone. And I think at the time he signed for us as well, he said he was keen to move from Charlton because his family now live up north. And Birmingham would bring him nearer to that, and obviously Huddersfield takes him even nearer, so that's no great surprise. He was loved by us fans. He's a great guy, great player, but I think there's maybe a reason he's not had a chance to experience Championship football till now, and that's maybe that League One's his level. And the thing I like about Chris Davis is, and Craig Gardner overseeing the transfers, is there's no room for sentiment. We're on a trajectory that wants to take us to the Premier League, and you know, we can't have any sentiment in being ruthless with our recruitment, you know, to meet those levels. So it is what it is. I know there's some parts of the fans that are upset that Alfie went, especially after the documentary and how well he came across. But there we are. That's that. Now I'm going to look at possible players leaving before the end of the transfer window. Tyler Roberts, I'd expect to maybe go out on another loan, if not be sold. He's nowhere near first team levels, nowhere near first team plans. He spent last season out on loan, and hopefully we can sell him this window. But I anticipate he'll be going out on loan at least. Alfie Chang had a great year at Walsall on loan last year. Got some football under his belt after a horrible injury the season before. I think he could possibly be going out on another loan deal. I think this time Chris Davis might want to get him a bit higher up the pyramid on a loan deal, maybe a Championship club or a League One club. So I'd expect that to happen. Lyndon Dykes, I don't think he's anywhere near at the levels that our first team are, so it wouldn't surprise me if he was sold, or if he went out on loan, if the right deal's not there transfer wise. That really wouldn't surprise me. That's one I'm more than certain of will happen. I think like Lyndon Dykes will go this window. And then the final two, Mark Leonard. I mean, he has been playing his part off the bench and stuff with the first team, but I think he might benefit from playing week in, week out. And with that in mind, I know Huddersfield were keen on a loan deal, and maybe another Championship club want to take him on loan and play him week in, week out, and that can only improve his development for us moving forward. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mark Leonard went out on loan. And then the final one I've earmarked is Williamson. Not quite sure how I feel about this. Before Wednesday night against Sheffield United, I would have said, yeah, you know, move the lad on or send him out on loan, because he had an injury around about Christmas time, and when he came back from his injury, he wasn't the same player. He just couldn't find his form. It was like the guy's mojo had gone. And before Wednesday, I'd have said, yeah, maybe try and loan him out, see if he can refine that mojo, refine that form and that match fitness, and then have him back. Because the start of last season, he looked like a phenomenal player, and I truly believe he has a lot to offer moving forward. But I think he's just got into a bit of a rut after his injury and lost his form. And if he can go somewhere and play every week and refine that form, then it can only benefit us when he returns to us. But then on Wednesday night against Sheffield United, he was absolutely incredible. He's the best I've seen him since his injury, so I don't know if that will now mean he can kick on and refine that form and he'll be a part of Chris Davis's plans, or whether he'll still go out. I don't know. I'm undecided on that one. So now we're going to look at the deals we've done to bring players in. So the first one is Newman. We agreed that sort of the turn of the year at the end of his contract, got him on a free transfer. He looks rock solid with Christian Clara at the back. He's tall, he's strong, he's just like Clara in that sense. They're like two towers, imposing towers at the back. So that's a fantastic signing. The next one is Taylor Gardner-Hickman. Bought him in for 1.8 million. These are all reported prices. Obviously, in football now, most times fees are discussed as undisclosed because of add-ons and bonuses and all that stuff. But this is reported fees for all of these. So we got Gardner-Hickman in for 1.8 million. And I think that was shrewd. He played a lot under Chris Davis last year, and he showed himself versatile. I think the only position he didn't play was in goal. He can slot in anywhere, and he's useful to come off the bench for that. He did a job everywhere, all over the pitch. So I think when you've got a player like that on the bench who can come on if anything happens in any position, he's a great option. We also bought Samstead in for 1.4 million after his loan spell with us last year. He's a decent looking fullback. Didn't quite get as many games as he would have liked last year, but he looked good when he had his chances, so that's a shrewd deal. They then brought Beadle in on loan, the England under-23 goalkeeper who won the under-23 Euros with them this summer, along with Stansfield in that team. He's spent the last couple of years on loan from Brighton at Championship clubs, and he's been an established first-choice keeper, and he looks very good, still very young, he's very tall. And I anticipate he's been brought in as a cup keeper. He's been told he'll have cup games, and he'll also push Allsop for his place. So I think that's a nice shrewd deal, and I'm hoping that maybe there's a future fee in there, option to buy. Hopefully, if he proves himself and we go up. With that in mind, the next one is Tommy Doyle. We bought in from Wolverhampton. Made his debut in the Premier League with Manchester City, and he's been a regular for Wolves up there as well. Highly rated by Pep Guardiola. Fantastic midfielder, easily a Premiership player already. And we've been very shrewd with that deal. We've got him on loan, but we've also got the option to buy, which means if we go up to the Premier League, he's our player. But if for whatever reason we don't this season, we're not then lumbered with a player that we spent £7 or £9 million on, or more. I mean, I'd value him at about 15. But obviously, if we don't go up this season, then we're not lumbered with him. But if we do go up, then he's ours. I think that's a very shrewd bit of business. The next one is Damari Gray. We got on a free transfer after he left his club in Saudi. The returning hero was great with us for the bit of time we had him when he was a breakthrough prospect, and he's gone away and he's played Premier League football, won a Premier League title with Leicester since then, and developed as a player. And he comes back now to his boyhood club. Still got all his pace and trickery about him, and I think that's as near as we've had to a statement signing so far. I think he's a fantastic player. So welcome home, Dimmy. The next one is Bright Samuel Asayi. Whichever way his names are, you know who I mean. He's coming on a free. He's a right back to push Ethan Laird for his place, and at the minute he looks, I think if Ethan Laird's an A, he looks an A+. And I'm really, really happy with what I've seen of him so far. We've got two solid right back options, which is fantastic. And then we've got Kaijo Furuhashi, who we bought in for a reported $9 million. Ex-Celtic striker. Fast, alert, always there, pounces. He's going to get a lot of goals this year. It's obvious he's going to get a lot of goals this year after the way he's played in the first two games. So that's a very good bit of business. And then the last one over the line was Cashin, who we've got on loan from Brighton. Island defender. He played Wednesday night, and he played against Notts Forest in the pre-season friendly, and he just looks a no-nonsense, solid defender at the back. Good option behind Clara and Newman. So I'm really happy with that deal as well. Two more deals we've done that we've not seen playing yet is Fujimoto. And I've done a bit of research on this lad. So he's 26 years old and he's Japanese. He can play in central midfield, he can play as an attacking midfielder, or he can play on the right wing. He's left-footed. He's signed from Gil Vicente, I think it is, in Portugal. They're playing the top flight there, where he played 156 times, scoring 12 goals and assisting 18 goals. His key traits are in passing, blocking passing, and shots outside the area. So that sounds quite promising. That sounds like we've maybe got a sort of almost a number 10 sort of attacking midfield role, but someone who can also drift out onto the right. He's good at taking shots from outside the area. He's good at the pressing and blocking passing, and he's good at finding key passes. So that's a great signing. I know he's a bit off yet. I think Davis has said 2 or 3 weeks behind the rest, but hopefully we'll see him maybe after the international window or towards October. And then obviously we've signed Dusk, or however you say it, or the Duck, as he'll be known now by us Blue Noses, and we got him for $2 million. Done a bit of research on this lad. So stats, he's German, played in the Bundesliga 30 times, scored 8 goals and assisted 8 goals. The scout reports say that he's a strong physical striker with the key traits of key passes, taking set pieces, holding onto the ball, long shots, direct free kicks, likes to play long balls and likes to shoot from distance. And I think if any of you have seen these sort of highlights reels on YouTube, it reflects that. He's very good with a free kick and he's very good with a long shot and he's very good at assisting goals and making key passes. So that's a very encouraging signing. Again, Davis has said he's probably a couple of weeks behind the rest, so I anticipate we might see him after the international window or towards October, but I think that looks like a fantastic signing. He looks strong and physical, so that kind of fills the void left by Lukas Jukovic retiring for me, possibly with another additional two. So now I'm going to look at possible players coming in, so some transfer rumours that I've seen touted about. So first is a lad that we seem to have been constantly linked with the last couple of years, and by the sounds of it we're still being linked with, so there's obviously some interest, and that's Mikey Moore. He's a 17-year-old winger, branded a generational talent and he plays at Tottenham, and the rumours are that us and other clubs are looking at a loan deal for the lad. I think that would be quite shrewd. He'd be quite nippy down the wing and he'd be a useful addition to the squad. And then I've heard Danny Namasso, who's a 24-year-old striker from Porto, came up as a youth with Reading and played in this summer's Club World Cup. Played 29 times last year, scoring 3 and assisting 1 in Portugal. Looks a very sort of physical lad as well, so that might be another option up top. If there's any truth in that one, I believe that's looking at a transfer rather than a loan. The next one then is Ben Davis, who we might see returning from Rangers after he had a great season with us last year on loan. The only thing that would be interesting to see with this one is whether it's another loan deal or whether it's a transfer deal, but I would more or less expect this one to be happening, given that Christian Bielik has now left, because then we'll have Newman and Clara and you'll have Cashin and Davis behind them too. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that one happen. And then the next one I saw was a guy called Koki Sato for a £5 million fee. So he's Japanese, he knows the likes of Fujimoto and Kojo well. He was on loan at QPR last year. He's a pacey winger, very creative and hard working, also great at contributing to the defending part of play, and he's thought to be being chased after from several clubs in the Championship, and as far as I've read, it's a ball in his court sort of situation where he's going to decide who he wants to go to, but we are said to be in that conversation, so that'd be interesting to see it happen. And then the final one I've heard, which came out of left field for me really, I hadn't really heard this one mentioned anywhere at all. But it's an interesting thought, and I think it'll divide the fan base massively if it starts becoming starts getting more and more momentum in the rumour mills. It's Patrick Bamford. Now apparently he's been told at Leeds United by Daniel Farker that he's not in his Premiership plans and he's redundant at the club. So 2 questions. Could he still do a job in the Championship? I think possibly he could. And is he that true physical kind of bully of a forward replacement for Jukovic potentially? I think he could be. The only thing I'd be sceptical on is what are his wage levels at the moment, given that he's already had a spell in the Premier League with Leeds, and he's been there a while. Top-end Championship player. I'd worry about what wages he's on and what his wages expectations would be. But I wouldn't be averse to it. I know he's a very Marmite character and a lot of people hate him, but I think he reminds me of, from what I've seen him play against us, I think he reminds me of a Robbie Savage type player. You know, that sort of shithouse player that if he's playing against you, you hate him. You absolutely hate the bloke and you boo him and he winds you up and he gets into it with the fans. But if he's on your side, you absolutely love him. And I don't think I'd go out and buy him. I don't think there's any sense in buying him if we're looking to go up to the Premier League, because then I think we're lumbered with a player who's not going to play in the Premier League. But I think I'd be a fan of taking him for a year on loan. I really think I'd be a fan of that. I think he'd do a job and he'd be worth 10 or 15 goals. And he'd be that physical presence up front. Because as good as Kaijo is, he's very short, he's tiny. So if you paired him with Bamford, and Bamford was that big physical lad, winning it, and sort of going for balls against defenders, and then he fed Kojo to tuck it up, I think that could work. I'd be a fan of bringing him in on loan. You know, I really would. I'd be very pro Bamford. So, yeah, let's see what happens there. And then, finally, I want to talk a little bit about my hopes for the rest of the transfer window. So, I'd like to see one more forward added to the squad, presuming that Dykes leaves, so that we've got 4 solid options. At the minute, I'd class us to have Kaijo, Stano and Duck. Maybe someone tall and good in the air, someone a bit more physical, which Bamford would meet all those sort of criteria. I'd also like to see another centre-back now come in, now that Bielik's left. So we've got, you know, the ideal situation is that you want to have 2 top draw players for each shirt. So at the minute, you look at centre-back, it's going to be Clara and Newman first choice. But then behind them, you've got Cashin who's solid, and you need another one. So maybe that's where Ben Davies comes in. So you've got 2 first choice, 2 backup. And we see that throughout a lot of the squad now. That's kind of why I want to have 4 good forwards as well. And with that in mind, I'd want another quality left back. I like Cochrane. Cochrane against the Laird and Bright Samuel situation. If Cochrane's an A, I want to see an A+ brought in to push him for the shirt, and, you know, to make sure we've got 2 good solid players at left back as well as right back. And then across the back then we'd have 2 solid left backs, 2 solid right backs, 4 solid defenders. We've got 2 solid keepers behind them. It's a decent setup at the back. So I'd like to see a quality left back coming to give Cochrane that bit of competition, and also to cover Cochrane if anything happens. Because if the first 2 games are anything to go by the way Cochrane's been playing, he's going to be targeted throughout the season, and I just worry about if someone ends up injuring him, who then comes in that can be as good as him. So yeah, that's my hopes for the rest of the window. But I'm going to ask the question, Blue Noses, what are your hopes for the rest of the window? What are your thoughts on the business we've done so far? And what are your thoughts on the transfer window, especially Patrick Bamford? In the meantime, please like, subscribe, hit the notification button, tell your friends about the channel. And the next video will be a review of the Blackburn game. Keep right on, Blue Noses. Keep right on.